Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
Today, the police will kill 3 people.
This attack on policing. Reform the police, yes. Call them all racist, no.
Wear a mask, socially distance.
Something new.
Updated guidelines from the CDC.
Biden has exceeded expectations that progressives had.
The Democrat Party wants to change the way America works.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It is a new week of News and Views, and going to be introducing you to Mark Walker, the former congressman who is now a declared candidate for the U.S. Senate. He'll be with us in just a little bit. First off, WAVY out of Norfolk is reporting the family of Andrew Brown Jr., the man shot and killed by law enforcement last week in Elizabeth City, spoke after watching the body camera footage of the incident after attorneys say law enforcement wanted to add redaction to the video. The family was set to see the video at 11:30 this morning. That was delayed until 1:30. That was delayed again. Around 3:15, the family was able to see the video. It was only about 20 seconds of a video after there was some redactions made. Some of the faces in the video had to be blurred out. The family said they watched the video 10 to 20 times. According to the family, the video described Brown in the driveway and a sheriff's truck blocking the driveway. His hands were on the steering wheel, and deputies ran up to the vehicle. The family say Brown was trying to drive away from being shot. Again, that's what the family said. Attorneys for the family said they lost count of how many shots were fired. They stated that they were able to see the body camera that was the furthest away from the incident. During the briefing, one of Brown's sons says he feels he and his family are against all odds. Quote, "My dad just got executed just by saving his own life. The officers were not in no harm of him at all. It's just messed up how this happened." Attorney for the family said they will provide another media briefing at 11 a.m. tomorrow regarding their independent findings after the release of the body camera footage. Pasquotank County officials will once again go on Wednesday to release more footage. This all comes as Elizabeth City and surrounding Pasquotank County have declared a state of emergency ahead of the public release of the video. You know, a couple things. I don't know what's going on in this. It's hard to know what is accurate, what is not accurate. I will say this, Ben Crump, who has now flown down to Elizabeth City from Minneapolis, where he won $27 million for the family of George Floyd. He is now up in Elizabeth City, supposedly representing Andrew Brown's family. I would just caution you that he was the same one when it came to that Columbus, Ohio shooting, that he said that Bryant was a 15-year-old unarmed young lady, a child, that was shot and executed by police officers. Well, now that story has changed considerably. Again, I don't know. I have no inside knowledge of what happened and in this situation up in Elizabeth City. And I haven't seen the video, and I haven't heard any neutral parties describe the video. All that to say is let's be patient, let's find out, and you know, as it happens, oftentimes what you initially hear and what you find out to be the truth can be, I'm not saying it is, but can be two different scenarios. And if what the family is saying is correct, there will be people that are held responsible. We'll just have to wait and see. What did this Andrew Brown, there were warrants out for his arrest related to selling drugs, selling cocaine, selling meth. They went to arrest Andrew Brown Jr., and that's when the confrontation happened. Now, he was driving off. He was trying to flee. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. But let's wait. Let's be patient. Protesters in Elizabeth City are on their 6th day of marches, demanding the release of the video camera footage. Again, the family saw about 20 seconds at 3:15 this afternoon. At 12:40 Monday, WAVA's Kayla Gaskins reported the protesters had shut down the bridge over the Pasquotank River between Elizabeth City and Camden County. An hour later, the Camden County Sheriff Office stated that the bridge had reopened traffic. Local deputies and police officers were diverting traffic and asking drivers to avoid the area at the peak of the protest. Earlier today, both Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County again declared a state of emergency ahead of the release of the video. And again, it hasn't been publicly released. That will happen on Wednesday. Be patient. Let's see what happens. Right now, though, this is making national news. I mean, this is out of Fox, NBC. Everybody's covering this right now. And we're rushing to judgment. You know, what were the awards last night? I guess it was the Oscars. Yeah, but nobody watched it, including me. That's why I can't remember what it was. But it was all political, as usual, and the ratings were terrible. And of course, nobody's seen the films either. The Oscars that nobody watched.
None of them looked familiar at all. Not even a trailer.
Yeah. So anyway, But the comments that you heard at the beginning of the program that Clark rolled at the beginning of the program, this guy getting up and say, police kill 3 people every day of the year. That is just not helpful. It's not true. And those people that do lose their lives, he pushed it totally out of context. We're setting this up now. The police officers are just blindly going around executing people as they feel like it. That's the narrative that the left is pushing. It's sad. It's dangerous. And the saddest thing about all this, now look, I understand there are police officers that don't do their jobs well and they need to be held accountable. But the saddest thing about this is those people that the left proclaims that they want to protect are the ones that will be hurt the worst without police presence. It's just that simple. The News and Observer is reporting that North Carolina will be getting another member of Congress. The state will receive a 14th seat in the United States House of Representatives based on the first public results from the 2020 census. Not a big surprise. We thought this was going to happen. North Carolina had been long expecting to gain another seat, which also gives it a 16th member of the Electoral College for the 2024-2028 presidential election. The 435-member House is reapportioned each decade based upon each census. North Carolina had 9.5 million residents in 2010, according to that year's census. The estimate of the state population last summer was 10.6 million, so approximately a 10% increase, an increase of 1.1 million people in the state of North Carolina. Yeah, you think it seems like it's a lot more crowded than it used to be? I think it is. The state's 2 most populous counties, Wake and Mecklenburg, continue to grow. Each county is already too large to be contained in a single congressional district. The 2nd congressional district, Wake, and the 12th congressional district, Mecklenburg, are solely within the county lines. So you've got an entire county with just a representative representing that county and not beyond the county lines. I mean, here in the East, Greg Murphy, was it like 21 counties he has? With so much of the state's population centered in those 2 counties, with some rural counties losing population, the new districts are likely to be in the new district is likely to be in one of those 2 counties. More than half the state's population growth, 53% from 2010 to 2015, occurred in 3 counties, Wake, Mecklenburg, and Durham. In 2016-2017, that number was 40%, with suburban counties and retirement destinations seeing additional growth. Based on population estimates, all but one North Carolina current 13 districts now has a population that exceeds the rough estimate of 757,000 people in each of the 14 redrawn congressional districts. Now, remember that while it's probably going to be Wake or Mecklenburg counties that receive the additional seat, one of those 2 areas, it will totally rearrange the other 13 districts. So it's entirely possible that we could see some trickle effect of wherever the new district goes. We could see some trickle effect here in the eastern part of the state. I don't think it's going to be significant, but if you're barely in the 3rd district or you're barely in the 1st district, it's entirely possible that you'd be bumped from one to the other. But it is interesting to see the growth in eastern North Carolina and in the entire state, for that matter. In 1950, the population, 4 million people. 1960, 4.5 million. 1970, 5 million. 1980, 5.8 million. 1990, 6.6 million. 2000, 8 million. 2010, 9.5 million. 2020, 10.6 million. So there was a pretty good jump from 2000 to 2010 of 8 million to 9.5 million, and again in 2010 to 2020 from 9.5 million to 10.6 million. The interesting to note too, just over the years, only 7 states have more representatives than North Carolina, whose 14 seats are tied with Georgia. I was looking at this earlier, just the history of this. There was, well, let's see, back in 1950, we had 12 congressional seats. It actually dropped in 1960 through 1980. We were at 11. We jumped back in 1990 to 12. And we went up to 13 in 2000, and we'll go to 14 in 2020. It was also interesting is the number of states that are losing representation, and 9 states in the Northeast, upper Midwest, and California were slated to lose at least 1 seat due to population changes. Texas could gain as many as 3 congressional seats. Interesting, isn't it? How the liberal states are losing. Now, people say, well, they want to go where it's warm. California's warm. They're losing in California. They're losing in the liberal Northeast and in some of the liberal Midwestern states. They're losing. Why? Because people want to get out of there. They want to get away from high taxes. They want to get away from regulation. They want to get away of lawlessness. And they're moving to the South, and they're moving to states that are run by conservatives. It shouldn't be any great surprise. News and Observer is reporting after more than 3 years of courting and an initial snub, North Carolina is landing an Apple campus. This is big bucks. I like the Apple phone. I don't really like Apple's politics. Apple plans to invest $1 billion in North Carolina over 10 years, including $552 million to establish a campus in the Research Triangle. It will create at least 3,000 jobs, according to the Department of Commerce. The company says it will spend another $448 million expanding its data center in Catawba County. No new jobs there. The RTP jobs will pay an average, you ready for this? $187,000 a year. The company's decision was announced this morning at the monthly meeting of Economic Investment Committee, which makes decisions about job development grants. The committee approved a jobs grant of $845.8 million over 39 years to Apple. Over 30, I mean, in 40 years from now, will Apple even be around? I'm dead serious. Now, I guess if they're not around, we don't have to pay it. But as fast as technology flips and changes, will something be replacing Apple 40 years from now? The Jobs Development Investment Grant award to Apple is the largest in state history. In addition, $112.4 million from the state income tax paid by Apple's new employees will flow to a utility fund for broadband, roads, bridges, and other infrastructure projects in rural communities. Wake County also offered Apple a business development grant that will pay 50% of new property tax growth back to the company. The campus will be 1 million square feet on the Wake County side of the RTP on tracts of land straddling North Carolina Route 540 near Cary and Mooresville. It will run on 100% renewable energy. Might get a little cold in the wintertime, the company said. Roy Cooper, the state Senate leader Phil Berger, and House Speaker Tim Moore and other leaders from both political parties held a rare joint press conference at the Executive Mansion to celebrate the announcement. By the way, Roy Cooper will give his State of the State address tonight, the same day he announced that Apple News. It will be streamed. Well, you can watch it on PBS. It'll also be streamed by PBS at pbsnc.org. It begins at 7 o'clock, and I'm sure the governor will take many, many bows on this Apple News. And we're going to take a time out. When we get back, I want to introduce you to Mark Walker. He is one of 2 Republicans who have officially announced that he is running to replace U.S. Senator Richard Burr. We'll have that interview when we get back.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Passalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the 2 dining areas. You got 2 different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have 2 rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Maribella's and the great pizza that you get at Maribella's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see them at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Top Dog Academy is Eastern North Carolina's complete dog training facility. Top Dog provides an excellent environment for dogs of all ages with training services and work week daycare. Top Dog is located on Highway 43 South, just 4 miles from Bells Fork, and features a comfortable, healthy environment and a spacious facility for daycare and a brand new, beautiful facility for training. Call 752-8215 or visit TopDogOnline.com.
Come on out Highway 43 South to Top Dog Academy, where we know dogs.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort.
This is your Drive at 5 and ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. 24 minutes past the top of the hour. 35 years ago, in 1986, the worst nuclear reactor disaster of the 20th century occurred at Chernobyl. 31 Soviets were killed instantly. It's desolate now. There's nothing there. The area is completely useless. 100 how many years ago was this? 156 years ago, 1865. Abraham Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth, was killed by federal troops near Port Royal, Virginia, 50 miles south of Washington. Taking a look at your weather forecast. Tonight, clear with a low around 48. Good-looking week coming up. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 82. Clear tomorrow night, low of 58. Wednesday, mostly sunshine with a high near 86. And Wednesday night, clear with a low around 63. So the warm weather is here. Hey, Mark Walker, I got together with him earlier this afternoon. He was in town in Greenville for a meeting. He stopped by my studios and had a chance to sit down and talk to him. Mark served as the U.S. representative for North Carolina's 6th Congressional District. We had a chance to talk. Here's that interview. Mark Walker, who has served as the U.S. representative for North Carolina's 6th Congressional District from January of 2015 to January of 2021, is with us. Mark is married to Kelly Sears, who is a nurse practitioner. They have 3 children in Greensboro. Mark, welcome in. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Tom, thanks. We're glad to be here today.
First of all, your family. How old are your kids?
Oh, but goodness gracious. My son is 26. I have a daughter who just turned 23, and our youngest is 14. A little bit of surprise almost after a 9-year gap.
Any grandkids yet?
No, none yet. We're just the 5 of us at this point.
You were a member of Congress for 3 terms.
Yes.
Tell us about the situation where you sort of got gerrymandered out district. You were put into a district with Ted Budd, I believe.
Correct.
And you decided not to run?
Yeah, that is correct. In fact, I remember the day that I went over to Ted's office. I was in the Longworth building. I have a little seniority, and some of the younger ones are in Cannon building. So I went over and I said, Ted, I have about 55 to 57% of the constituents in the new district. I think he has about 33 or 34%. I said, but I've already been praying and processing about running for Richard Burr's seat. In fact, I'd even met with the president a couple times in the Oval Office talking about it. I said, I'll step down from Congress. We don't need to run against each other, of course. So you stay in this seat, and I'll run for the United States Senate. And at that moment, that's what we decided to do. They put us in what is called, if you're scoring it, a D18. The most upside-down seat in all of Congress is like a D3 or D4. It didn't behoove us to spend all of our resources when we already knew that we were running for U.S. Senate.
Had Burr already announced that he wasn't running for re-election at that point, or were you just speculating?
I was maybe more speculating, but it was just something in our heart to do. I felt like North Carolina needed a senator who had a conservative background, but also had a conservative record and was willing to go to Washington and kind of grab the bull by the horns to be able to call out some of the things that we see.
So would you have run if Burr hadn't announced that he was?
When I ran for U.S. Congress, I actually announced before a 30-year incumbent had even retired. I feel like this is something, and sometimes I see this in politics, people wait to see who's running or who's not running. I believe, Tom, I'm convinced that if it's in your heart, if you almost feel that it's a calling, you go and you be obedient, you do everything you can, no matter who is or who isn't. And that's the way I decided to run for U.S. Senate as well.
Right now, announcing on the Republican side, you were the first to announce. Pat McCrory announced a couple of weeks ago. Others that at this point are considering announcing is, in fact, well, Laura Trump. I think she's a long shot at this point. That's my speculation. I'd be surprised if she announced. But indeed, Ted Budd is talking about running, correct?
Yes, I have heard that, and I believe he has. He's certainly, am I a little bit surprised? I would be, but I hope that doesn't get to the point where Ted and I are taking votes and Governor McCrory, the former governor, goes through the middle there. So we'll see if he makes a final decision to do so. We've gotten out of the gates. We've already picked up the endorsements of Senator Tim Scott, Governor Mike Huckabee, Madison Cawthorn. In fact, every Republican sheriff we have ever represented in Congress have already come out a year from the primary and said, we completely and publicly support Mark Walker no matter who else is running. And we're very proud of that record.
Let me back up and ask you a couple of philosophical questions related to your role as a pastor for 14, 16 years?
16 years, that's correct, Tom.
You just talked about a calling. Obviously, when you go into the pastorate, that is a calling. You're looking at, first of all, the inward call, confirmed by an outward call. Right. I've talked to other pastors that might be very conservative in their way of thinking, their ideology as they approach scriptures, but as they approach politics. I know some that just said it would be hard for me to walk away from this calling as a pastor to do anything else. How did that wrestling match go?
That's a great question.
Switch careers.
I remember back in 2012, I started attending some of the Greensboro City Council meetings. The strong bend to the left and just the dysfunctionality, it began just to churn something in me. And then for the first time ever, I went to the Republican National Convention. I believe it was in Tampa that year. So I'm watching the election that fall in November, And when President Barack Obama won a second term, I knew in my heart, in fact, I literally got up out of the living room, walked down the hallway to the bedroom, and told my wife I'm running for the United States Congress. And this may not be...
What was her response?
Well, she's a former emergency room nurse, and her language might not have been... No, I'm just teasing. She's been supportive since day one. But here's the crazy thing, and I don't know, maybe some in your audience may or may not agree with this. I felt just as passionate and just as strong to step away from ministry to run for U.S. Congress as I did to leave the business world. I spent 5 or 6 years in the business world before leaving and going back to school, getting a theology degree. But I felt such a burden about our country and the direction that it was headed and the lack of the spiritual values and the morals and the godly teaching that we've seen stripped away from every entity that I felt like I had to do my part to fulfill that calling. In fact, I was so ignorant, I didn't even know anybody in Raleigh or D.C. I didn't know how much money you were supposed to raise. In fact, in January of 2014, before the May primary, I had like $8,000 cash on hand, maybe $8,800, and my opponent had well into the six figures. And I remember reading all the newspaper clips of, well, he's a nice enough guy, but he will never win because he doesn't have the money. But I just believed that the grassroots, the evangelical community would come out and stand up, and they did, and we actually ended up setting a record as far as turnout in that runoff later that summer. Since you didn't run for re-election against Ted Budd when you were in Congress, did that leave you with any war chest? Great question. In fact, the first time I've asked, I think we had about $500,000 instead of wasting that on a seat that would, by all stretch of the imagination, was drawn for a Democrat, which ended up taking it. I felt like, let's save that. Let's build it as our foundation, which is what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons that we're able to travel statewide and get our message out. As you look at what our country is facing right now, how do you address this in terms of it being really spiritual warfare? It's exactly what it is. This is no longer as much as Democrats versus Republican as it is just a spiritual battle. And I know I get some pushback, but this is evil that we're dealing with. Yeah. The darkest night, Tom, that we had on the House floor, the debate went well into the night, and we were literally, and I couldn't believe this, we were arguing over whether a baby should be allowed to live if it survived a botched abortion. Back and forth, and you could literally feel the oppression in the room. And I remember that night when the dust settled, only 3 Democrats voted that a baby should be allowed to live if the intent was to abort it. I went back to my office, it was around midnight, and I took out 3 thank you cards, and I hand wrote a thank you note to those 3 Democrats who had the courage to do that. All 3 were primary, 2 were taken out. Only 1 exists. It's a Hispanic gentleman, Henry Cuellar from San Antonio. In fact, he's the one that recently released some of the pictures at the border, but they're after him now. In the Democrat Party, and I hate to be overly partisan, there's no space for anybody who believes from a pro-life position. They want them gone, and they will take them out if they do try to stand up for it. Yeah, it is interesting that the Democrats march in lockstep, the Republicans don't, and that yet people use that as a negative against Republicans because they can think for themselves and vote for themselves. Yes, no, independent, we're conservative. We're individualism-thinking people as far as our conservative or independent. We want the government out of our lives to make our own decisions. And I've seen it many times when Nancy Pelosi blows the whistle, they all line up. It's a strength for them when they come to an issue. And I think on some issues, I think Republicans, we should be lining up on some of these major issues that our country's facing. What would you say are the 3 biggest issues right now our country is facing? Well, the last 2 years I spent as ranking member on intelligence and counterterrorism for the Homeland Security Subcommittee. I think the growth of China is something that we are not paying attention to. I've traveled many countries. I've seen some of the military buildup in the South China Sea. So one ties with number 2, which and we don't talk about it. Maybe it's not as sexy enough as the national debt. I was passed over 3 times for a Ways and Means position because I refused to vote for the spending bills in the omnibus, because a lot of that debt we're borrowing is from China. We continue to strengthen them, and I worry specifically with this administration when you had 5 Bidens on the Chinese payroll, right, the CCP. I think that the smallest amount one of them got was $20 million. What's the old adage? If you owe the bank $10,000, they control you. If you owe the bank $10 billion, you own them. Who is more to lose if we were to default on the amount of money that we owe China? Well, no, that may be something over the next few years that we come face to face with, since we are borrowing, I think we're over $1 trillion now of debt to China. Proverbs does talk about it to back you up there. The debtor is servant to the lender. Right. But at some point, how does that balance work out as far as when they're willing to underwrite so much?
As you look at this overall race, there's a couple of things that are probably going to come up. First of all, I've heard from some of our listeners that they were surprised and I'll say a little dismayed that there was a letter that came forth from Paul Ryan endorsing you, and their impression was that you had these connections to Paul Ryan. A, is that correct? And B, if so, how would you address that as a concern?
No, thank you for asking that. We got a little bit of feedback, or should I say pushback. That was a third-party mailer. I did serve with Speaker Ryan. I think he wanted to send out something that was talking about our character, integrity, and how we serve in the U.S. House. If you notice that mailer, there's no quote for me on that anywhere that directly addresses him. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, if I'd have known about it, should we have kind of pushed back on it? There's debate on that because Chuck Schumer is probably going to spend $200 million against us. So do you preclude
$200 million?
$200 million, yes. That's what the Democrats are saying, that they're going to go after the Republican primary winner, which we hope is us. But as far as on the other topic, I have to make a decision. Is it wise to preclude anybody who wants to go out there and help us raise some funds? I don't align my political values with Speaker Ryan. That's why I have 100% in the 116th Congress. Heritage Action scored me as 100%, and Project 538 projected me to be the #1 America First pro-conservative if I was to win, even ahead of Ted Cruz's scoring card.
The situation that took place in the winter, spring of 2019 with the insurance commissioner, Mike Causey, there was some donations that came forth from an individual. The situation was such that he really wanted to control the insurance commissioner and have this insurance commissioner look the other way on a couple of issues. And to grease the skids, he was giving out large donations to certain political candidates. The publication Politico identified you as the unnamed public official A in the indictment who called the state insurance officials after a political committee came under his control. They said you received $150,000 in that situation. Of course, that was a situation where former Representative Robin Hayes got into some trouble, ended up basically being put on probation. Do you look at that as a asset or a deficit in terms of your campaign?
Well, first of all, the story was Politico, but it wasn't even actual truth. The $150,000 went to the Republican National Committee. We never saw a single penny. What happened was Vice President Pence, after I worked with him in repealing Obamacare and defunding Planned Parenthood on the House side, he said, "Mark, I'm happy to come do an event for you." I said, "Let's put it together." So it was called the Mark Walker Victory Fund, but it was a joint committee, I'll stay out of the weeds here, where people could give to the Republican National Committee as well. Even though it was called the Mark Walker Victory Fund,
right,
that check, every bit of it. Now, he gave to 33 different political officials, and because there was such nothing there, we were never even called for the trial. That was a complete hit piece by a Washington, D.C. rag. And so, you know, is it stuff that you have to deal with from time to time when people come after you? You do, but usually in my background, that means you're usually used to getting close to success or getting over the target when people do kind of drop such narratives on you. Yes, Mike Causey will vouch for me and anybody else to know that story was completely fabricated.
Well, and Mike Causey certainly turned out to be the hero in that story.
Yes, and he did right. And Mike and I have great relationships. In fact, Mike and I actually ran against each other for the 2014 primary, and he went on to be the insurance commissioner. But I still consider him a good friend, and I believe that's vice versa.
So as you look over the coming months, what is the plan of action for your campaign?
Well, we want to continue to travel statewide. There may be other candidates that have more money or outraise us, but I can tell you, Tom, nobody will outwork us. I love being out there. Maybe that's the pastor minister in me for the last 16 years. And to have people come out this early, I'll give you an example. There are 33 elected officials in Guilford County, Republicans. It's a county that Ted Budd and I have split for the last 4 years. All 33 have already come out and endorsed us publicly. And the reason I like that is because those are the people who know you the best, that speak to how you serve, not just in Washington, D.C., but are you available in the communities? Do you show up? Do you commit? Now, here's the most amazing thing. Here's why I believe I'm the most electable candidate, is even though I'm considered kind of hard right, even crazy right by some of the left with a 100% scorecard, I was the only member in the entire U.S. Congress to win the President's Award from the United Negro College Foundation. I'm the only elected official of any Republican level in the state to give a commencement address at a historical black college or university. And what I talk about, Psalms 139, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Don't let a federal government put a ceiling on what God wants to do for your life. So I'm unique in the sense, I believe, that we are top of the line conservative, but we've been able to build inroads because I want whether this Eastern North Carolina or anywhere else, I want every boy and girl to hear this message of individual liberty and opportunity and prosperity. And that's the reason that I'm running for U.S. Senate, is to take the same success we've had in the House and take it statewide as the next senator from North Carolina.
So will you promise, if you are elected as the U.S. Senator, that you'll make regular appearances here on News and Views?
Well, I guess subjectively, what is regular, but I guarantee you that if we win U.S. Senate, this will be one of the stops that we come back, and we would enjoy doing so.
What is the website?
It's walker4nc.com, walker4nc.com, and they can look us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We've got good momentum right now. We know it's a journey, a year ahead of us, but Chuck Schumer's already here in the state trying to plot it out, and we cannot surrender North Carolina. And I believe that we can, I believe it's time for North Carolina to have a strong conservative in the Senate.
Well, listen, if you get an opportunity, you come back down as we get closer to the election, we'll have you on for the whole hour. We'll take phone calls from our listeners. That'd be a lot of fun.
We'd love to do it. And I'm not asking for anybody's vote today. What I'm asking is take a look at us. We hope to earn your trust at some point.
And again, we wanted to introduce our listeners to you for the eastern part of the state. You're a new name, a new figure, but welcome to Eastern Carolina. Good to have you with us. Mark Walker. He is one of 2 announced candidates. We'll see if we have some more, including Ted Budd and Laura Trump. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Break the chain. Eat local. Tiebreakers.
Hey, this is Hank Hinton back here at Full Service Flooring in Winterville. I'm here today with Corey Little, who's the operations manager here at Full Service Flooring. Corey's been here 6 months, but you've been in construction a long time. Tell us about what you do here at Full Service Flooring.
Yeah, I got over here about 6 months ago. I've been in construction for, like I said, a little over 20 years, and I've known Tim for a long time now, and he's brought me over here to see what new kind of things I can bring to the store and to our customers. And I'm in charge of scheduling, and I don't know what else. I'm in charge of everything. It seems like we work together as a team and try to pull it all together. I might do a measure one day and do a commercial floor the next day, but we just kind of all work together and pull it all together at one time.
So what's new in flooring? What is the hot new thing?
The hot new thing is LVP or LVT, depending on what you're looking for, which look you're looking for. It's a waterproof product. It's absolutely fantastic. You can't really beat it.
A lot cheaper than hardwoods?
It is definitely a cost-effective alternative to hardwoods, yes, sir.
So, Corey, how is business right now?
And business is good. Despite the pandemic, we're still seeing a lot of new customers in the store, and we get an opportunity to introduce our products in a lot of different situations right now.
Corey, you've got a lot of experience in the construction industry. How is that helping you here with people, helping people with flooring here at Full Service Flooring?
Sure. I try to take the experiences that I've gained over my time in construction to help apply that to the flooring, whether it be with what the structure is made out of, the subfloor that we're going over top of, or maybe even just how it coordinates with your kitchen cabinets in construction or in your bathroom and how the tub and everything all ties together.
And a customer can just come here and see you anytime?
Absolutely. We're here 6 days a week, and we just love to see a new customer in here anytime. They can always call us and schedule something with us so we can make sure we have our time allotted for them.
Corey, thank you so much. That's Corey Little here at Full Service Flooring. Come see these guys. They're on Tilco Drive in Winterville, 756-9308 and fullserviceflooring.com.
In North Carolina, we get up before the sun rises and stay up into the wee hours of the night. We believe in working hard and playing harder. Behind every meal, there's a farmer, and behind every farmer, there's got to be NC, the official state identity program for North Carolina agricultural products. Look for the Got to Be NC logo wherever you shop or eat, and you'll know you're getting a quality product grown, raised, caught, or made in North Carolina.
Back to News and Views. Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
16 minutes before the top of the hour. Back in 2019, the former mayor of Baltimore, Catherine Pugh, who's been living for the last couple of years in federal penitentiary, She had to move to the federal pen, and she had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in restitution and fines. Why? Because the former mayor of Baltimore wrote a book, and she got a bunch of people who wanted favor with the city so they could get special treatment, special contracts. They ended up having to buy thousands of her books. A great windfall. I mean, you write some lousy book, I think it was a children's book, and then you basically, okay, it's not a bribe. These people want to buy my book. Yeah, they want to buy it so they can get something in return. The U.S. Attorney for Baltimore stated in February of 2020, Catherine Pugh betrayed the public trust for her personal gain and now faces 3 years in the federal pen where she will have no parole ever. Law enforcement will remain vigilant to ensure that our citizens receive the honesty and professionalism they deserve from the government officials and will prosecute officials who betray the public's trust. Specifically, Pugh admitted that she had sold approximately 20,000 each of Healthy Holly books, 1, 2, and 3, to the University of Maryland's medical system for $100,000 each. Do they mean each book? I think they probably mean each book of 1, 2, and 3. I don't know, though. I mean, these people, who knows? Why do I bring up that old story, you ask? Good question. I bring it up because Kamala Harris has written a book. Yes, she has. Kamala Harris has written a book that is given away to every immigrant child that crosses the border. Over the weekend, the New York Post reported that the border czar, Kamala Harris's books, were included in the Welcome Wagum-like backpacks distributed to children who have been illegally brought over the southern border. Breaking 911 from the New York Post reported that the U.S. government paid for the vice president's children's books entitled Superheroes Are Everywhere. Guess who is on the cover of this book, Superheroes Are Everywhere? Guess. Yeah, you're right. Harris. Kamala Harris is on the cover underneath the words Superheroes Are Everywhere. On Monday, the White House spokesperson Jen Psaki was asked by Fox News about this sweetheart deal. Reporter, which was asking the question, every migrant child being brought into a shelter is given a copy of the Kamala Harris children's book. Do you know why that is, and is she making any money off that? Psaki, I'd have to check on that. I'll circle around to you. I hear it's a good book. I'm not kidding.
Circle back on that one.
Thank you, Jen. The book reportedly was included in backpacks. At least 1,000 children at Long Beach, California shelter. Each of them had a copy. Every kid coming across has getting a book. Yeah, there you go. If you're looking on cable TV or if you're looking on Facebook, you can see Kamala right there with 3 little kids on the front of the cover. So the question is, again, so we've had more than 172,000 migrant children. Does Kamala Harris get some percentage of the sales of these books? We need to know. This is why Catherine Pugh, the former mayor of Baltimore, is now the mayor of the local penitentiary, the local federal pen outside of Baltimore. And can Kamala get an adjoining cell? I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous that the czar, the Biden czar for the border crisis, is making money. At least she's making fame. I'm guessing she's making money off this. At least she's making fame, as every kid that comes across illegally is given one of her books. And the United States government is buying these books. Unbelievable. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Anything could happen ever since I met you.
Introducing Pepsi Mango.
Greenville
Greenville Toyota has a big deal for you. Get up to 125% of what your trade is worth. Then drive a new vehicle with our big Greenville Advantage. Lifetime maintenance, no-cost oil changes, free loaners, and more. The Big Deal Sales Event, now at Greenville Toyota.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
It's Greenville Toyota's Big Deal Sales Event. Our biggest selection with our biggest savings. Like Corollas, just $15,950. Camrys, only $18,950. Rush in before these big deals are gone. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
This one's for everyone who spends the amount of time it would take to watch a movie, agreeing on which movie to watch. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices.
Ride and shotgun with your 5 o'clock drive.
The drive home should be a delight.
This is Tom Lamprecht with more news and views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
So we know that John Kerry has previously been accused of colluding with the Iranian leaders to undermine Donald Trump's administration. Now, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has claimed in recent leaked audio that John Kerry, when he was serving as Secretary of State during the Obama administration, informed him of more than 200 Israeli operations in Syria. Kerry has previously been accused of colluding with Iranian leaders to undermine Trump's administration. Now, as a part of the Biden administration, and has a seat on the National Security Council as a special envoy, presidential envoy for climate. So he's on the National Security Council, and he is leaking information to Iran on what Israel had planned to do to defend itself. This is unbelievable. I mean, Iran is about as close as you can come to a declared enemy of the United States without Congress actually declaring war on them. And this goes all the way back to the Jimmy Carter administration. For Kerry to do this to our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel, this damages the United States. I mean, it greatly damages our credibility, but Israel is our ally. Quite frankly, this ought to, at the very least, disqualify Kerry from being a part of the National Security Council. Certainly, he ought to be kicked out of the Biden administration. And quite frankly, that's the least that should happen. I mean, really ironic that the Obama administration would use the Logan Act to try to bring down the Trump administration. That's the act that basically says, I mean, it goes back a couple of hundred years, but it's the act that if you are aiding and abetting a foreign country at the expense of the United States, then you're violating the Logan Act. And this is what they tried to get General Michael Flynn on. Well, then if you're going to go after Michael Flynn on that, could we at least have an investigation to John Kerry? I know he's innocent until proven guilty. But apparently these audio tapes from the Zarif, isn't Zarif the guy? I'm pulling from memory here, but I mean, isn't there some sort of family relationship there that Kerry's daughter or something is married to Zarif, a relative or a son? Or I'm pulling from memory here, but if memory serves me right, there is a relationship there. But could we not at least have the FBI look into this with the same fervor they looked into Michael Flynn and the deceit that took place? Do we have anybody going to the FISA court to look into this matter? Where's the Justice Department? Crickets. I mean, there was nothing against George Papadopoulos. There was nothing against Michael Flynn. There was nothing against the former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And yet all these accusations were flying around. And I'm sorry, when you look at some of these agencies that used to be true blue American, flawless, honest, integrity, now you look at them and they're just pawns for liberal politicians. And it continues. If the FBI would be honest, you would at least be investigating into John Kerry. Unbelievable. Hey, our thanks again to Mark Walker for stopping by and talking with us. And by the way, we look forward to talking to all the United States Senate candidates. I doubt if the Democrats will come talk to us, but I think the Republicans will. We'll talk to all of them. Hey, have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Bye-bye, everybody.
Toyota has a big deal for you. Get up to 125% of what your trade is worth. Then drive a new vehicle with our big Greenville Advantage. Lifetime maintenance, no-cost oil changes, free loaners, and more. The Big Deal Sales Event, now at Greenville Toyota.
In North Carolina, we get up before the sun rises and stay up into the wee hours of the night. We believe in working hard and playing harder. Behind every meal, there's a farmer, and behind every farmer, there's got to be NC, the official state identity program for North Carolina agricultural products. Look for the Got to Be NC logo wherever you shop or eat, and you'll know you're getting a quality product grown, raised, caught, or made in North Carolina.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. What when people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and everybody gets along well, and you can tell that these guys and gals really know what they're talking about when it comes to interior design.
They do, and that's really what makes us different. We offer complete in-home design service. We don't charge a by-the-hour fee. It's a flat one-time fee. We work with you in here, in your home, in your business, and help pull everything together.
All right, it's more than just a fabric store. Fabric and Home Furnishings in Arlington Village. Come see this lady. She's fantastic. Fabric and Home Furnishings. Come see the renovations here in Arlington Village. And thank you for the visit today.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, you got to come see what they've done in the store here on Arlington Boulevard in Arlington Village.
Greenville Toyota has a big deal for you. Get up to 125% of what your trade is worth. Then drive a new vehicle with our big Greenville Advantage. Lifetime maintenance, no-cost oil changes, free loaners, and more. The Big Deal Sales Event, now at Greenville Toyota.